start the recording now. Okay, cool. So you're gold 5, and this is ranked, yeah? Okay. Do you pick Jax especially often? Are you a jungle main, things like that? Give me a brief overview of how you generally play and what roles you play. Okay. Yeah, the new state of devourer is pretty absurd, especially on Jax. From what I understand, it's fairly insane. Okay. This is the highest quality. Yeah, we're gonna leave it. Okay, so pretty standard start. Obviously, your team doesn't do much of a zone coverage, but I don't know if it necessarily matters, considering the enemy team comp. I'm not entirely sure of Tom Kench's limits yet, as he's only been out a few days. I haven't seen much of him, especially top lane. I've only really seen him support recently, so I'm not entirely sure how that matchup goes. The Nautilus Tom Kench matchup is not one I have a ton of experience with, but we're going to assume that that's just sort of a farm fest and Tom Kench roams once in a while with his ultimate. I don't think that other than that there's a whole lot to say. I'm not positive. I'd assume that's not a good lane to gank because Tom Kench just seems unkillable. Like the Champions kit as a whole just makes him so tanky that I don't know, I really wouldn't be looking at that as a viable ganking lane. For mid lane, you could definitely gank Talon for Cho'Gath. I think that that's totally open. And for bot lane, Kalista Thresh is also extremely gankable, especially at 6, but even a little bit before if they get some sort of lane advantage. So, yeah, that's the type of mindset you should be taking at the very beginning of the game, especially before minions spawn. Just decide what lanes you can actually afford to pressure and where on the map you actually want to be spending your time most efficiently. So, specifically this game, I think bottom's probably the most efficient. Mid lane can farm forever, and bot lane's going to be really volatile with Leona, just because obviously she wants to go in all the time. Pretty basic first clear. I'm going to try to cover some like macro topics while you're doing your first clear here, because there's not a whole lot to it, obviously. The way that the enemy Nidalee is going to be right now, I'm really surprised she actually didn't get banned because Nidalee's so strong with the Runeglaive this patch. But you're going to want to watch out for like early invades. Pre-sated devourer, you're going to be much weaker than Nidalee, so it's safe to assume that she's going to be invading within your space of your jungle here and trying to punish you for that. Oh, something interesting I just noticed is you actually killed raptors, right? It worked because you have dodge and everything. Usually on junglers, foregoing raptors and going to wolves can actually let you be healthier during the clear. Because let's say like some Nidalee walks into your jungle here, which isn't that unreasonable actually. She's finished clearing her side. If she goes like blue wolves scuttle raptors, blue wolves just straight to your raptors, at higher levels players are going to start to play that mind game a little bit more. You need to be really careful about doing raptors third, just because you end up with such low health that it's terrifying actually. So something to keep in mind. As Jax, it's a little bit different because you have the dodge mechanic. A lot of junglers can't actually even kill the raptors, so that's something. But just to mention that. Personally, I assume you're going for Scuttle right now. Oh, you're ganking actually. Okay. Yeah. Obviously it worked. Little bit inefficient with the stun. That's all right. He jumped away at the last second, which I mean is understandable. The Scuttle Crab's actually really risky. Nidalee could have very easily started red buff and be on the top side of the map, and having seen you gank Jax, could have come pressured you at that Scuttle. It didn't happen, obviously, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's really important to keep in mind where Nidalee could be at any point in time, and at that moment, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, she's either heading, especially when she has vision of you, she could either be coming to you or she started blue and she's bottom side of the map. As long as you're consciously aware of both of those realities, like both of those potential things, it shouldn't be a huge deal. But keeping that in mind is really important everywhere that she could be. When dealing with variables, it's usually best to take the worst case scenario and assume it's true. Okay, got the Gromp buff. Good stuff. So Nidalee's ganking your top laner, but I don't think it necessarily matters. I don't think that she fully understands what I was saying earlier, that like that top lane, neither of those players necessarily matter whether or not they die. They're going to be huge beefy front lines regardless, and I don't know. I've yet to see a Tahm Kench snowball out of control. So unless he's a secret hyper carry that I don't know about, it's probably not worth her time. So that's one failed gank from the Nidalee, and that puts you another step ahead. So that's good. Now, right now, this is an interesting movement that you're doing. I assume you're going to like poke in and try to see where Nidalee is. Maybe place a trinket ward. No, it's on cooldown. Maybe just take Raptors. What exactly was your mindset here as you were walking into? Okay, so Raptors. Yeah, were you aware that you didn't have trinket up? This just seems like a really risky move in general. Nidalee's whole goal in life right now is to fight you, so I don't think that poking into her jungle is the most responsible decision. I feel like this could easily turn on you really easily, as we're seeing right now, actually. Oh God, that was really messy. Well, you should be dead. You're gonna live, but you really should be dead. So. Okay, so that worked out well enough. That was a pretty sloppy play by Nidalee as a whole. I mean, she missed 2 or 3 spears on you. You were really low, and that's exactly the reason that I was concerned about you walking to those Raptors, actually, because Nidalee just has so much more fighting power than you right now, and giving her any type of snowball lead can really make this game difficult, because she's going to start raining terror upon your team. But it worked out. Something that could have happened a little bit differently. Your trinket ward does come up like while you're running away, and it doesn't seem like you're considering that an escape path at all. So like, for example, like you could easily, this trinket ward comes up, you could easily trinket over Gromp wall right here and jump over the Gromp wall and just be 100% safe. Or alternatively, trinket behind you here so that Cho'Gath has vision of Nidalee instead of blind hitting this Q. You know, so there's a lot of little trinket usage that you could have here if you're watching this cooldown, and that's one extra thing that you can keep an eye out for, especially on Jax. It's a pretty neat tool. It's a little bit like Katarina, how you always have like that extra escape route. I actually really like upgraded yellow trinket on Jax jungle if you don't get Sightstone. Okay. No, I wouldn't recommend Sightstone on him. I just wasn't sure what you bought this game. I think that the upgraded trinket's way more than enough. Just get the one that lets you place 2 wards or whatever, or lets you get 2 charges. I forget exactly, but the upgrade is incredibly strong on champions that can dash towards. And it's only like 250 gold or something, so it's really cheap. No, I think this game I would just go say to Devourer Wit's End personally, um, and then Blade of the Ruined King. Yeah, the Wit's End for MR. Also, Wit's End's fucking crazy with Say to Devourer. I mean, it does 42 damage every hit and 84 damage every other hit, so it's pretty insane. It's also super cheap. It's incredibly gold efficient for what you're getting out of it with Say to Devourer, so yeah, it's really good. Also, the MR for dueling Nidalee is really important. Also, defends you from Leona and Tom Kench damage. The MR is absolutely not wasted just because they have a Talon, so yeah. Now, right here, did you actually wait for the wave? Is that what you did? Because you stop here. Because right here, you stop and you wait. But it's actually perfect because as you can see on the top side, which is mirrored, this wave is walking past and can see in towards the golems. And if you would have walked by earlier, they actually would have seen you and revealed you. But assuming that this is intentional, that was a really good play. And it was surprising that you actually were conscious enough to do that. Usually players don't notice things like that. Calculated. Nice. Okay, yeah, no, that's really solid solid behavior. You need to always watch out for that wave, especially when doing golems. Now that word's interesting. So that trinket ward has almost no purpose, right? I mean, you need to be really careful with your trinket wards, especially on Jax because, like I said, it's an escape. But this ward serves very little actual use. It's 817, which means you know for a fact Nidalee didn't start red buff. It also means you know for a fact that this red buff's probably going to respawn at like 9.5 minutes, or like maybe a little bit before that, depending on her route. So you already know these numbers if you're a jungle main. These numbers already exist in your head. So knowing that she didn't start the red first means that this is going to respawn later, and this ward's going to expire by the time that it would even respawn. So this ward actually doesn't get to see anything for its lifespan at all, other than maybe a random person passing through, which is complete chance. So I don't like this trinket ward. I think it would have been better being saved as an escape route later, or being placed somewhere like over by raptors, where she's more likely to walk through and expose herself. Also, if you place it over by raptors, it consumes her raptor buff and doesn't allow her to gank bot lane for free. So warding on raptors is usually a really good decision. Does that make sense? Yeah, no, I would also assume she started bot side, but you actually just got it was absolutely proved to you that she didn't start bot side when you warded that. Oh, it actually spawned at 8:30. Did she go straight to red? Because she started blue. She must have gone Gromp blue straight to red. Anyway, regardless, yeah, no, you know for a fact that it's not her first buff because it was 817 and it wasn't alive. So now you know where her likely path is. So you can already read where her movements are likely to take her without even having that ward there. So, you know. She did take an odd route though. Going Gromp blue red is not traditional. It's really strange. It's actually pretty inefficient, so. So right now, what is your goal in this game? That's the question that you should be asking yourself, because as of right now, you just made a mistake already by walking back this way. as Jax, not even necessarily as Jax, as any jungler that buys Devourer this patch. The fact that you're not at Wolves is a mistake. And the fact that, well, or headed to Gromp, right? The fact that you're headed to neither camp is a mistake. You need to be farming nonstop unless you're doing Dragon. And unless you're walking to solo Dragon right now, which I'm pretty sure isn't happening, I find this to be likely a mistake. I don't think I would be ganking Talon, especially not this early, because you want to get Sated Devourer as soon as possible, preferably by like 16 minutes if you kill Dragon. And if you're continually ganking this Talon, especially if it doesn't work and he has flash up like he does right now, you're wasting a lot of time that could be used clearing 3, maybe more camps. Because once you get Sated Devourer, Jax becomes a monster. So just putting yourself to that point is really important. So you walk into... Okay. So you ward again. You purchase that ward. So this is really scary. You're super dead. Yeah. Yeah, really what I've been saying pretty much the whole game, echoing. So basically Nidalee can fuck you up at any point that you don't have Sated Devourer. Pretty much until you buy that item. In fact, maybe even after you buy that item, because Nidalee's pretty fucking ridiculous. Also, we know that Talon is MIA, and he has flash. He didn't flash when he went mid lane. Obviously Andy probably has Ignite. So all of these things combined, and then to just blindly walk into the red buff is an incredibly risky play. I think that your goal in this game, your mindset, where your head should be on killing as many camps as you can possibly kill, and get to your Sated Devourer as soon as possible, so you're able to make aggressive movements like this. Because you need to work up to this point where you're able to be threatening. Jax as a hero isn't able to handle situations where he's outnumbered very well. So something to keep in mind. I would recommend almost never invading a Nidalee. She's just so strong. Blindly invading a Nidalee, I should say. If you are going to make aggressive movements like that, make sure that you're aware of Nidalee's location, or at least her general vicinity. Like we've seen her gank top in the last 30 seconds. Something like that. Just walking in blind like that is like flipping a coin and hoping that it lands heads. You know, it's not necessarily worthwhile to place your life on it. Just a small I don't think that trinket is, that's just a lazy trinket, right? I mean, realistically, I think that your trinket is so much more valuable than on other characters. Some characters I don't mind that happening on, but on Jax, like that's your escape route sometimes. So, yeah, I don't think I like that. Killing wolves. Okay, so you're currently only at 3 sated stacks for now, at 11 minutes and 30 seconds, which is just evidence of how distracted from your primary goal you actually got during the early mid game. So hopefully you can speed up the acquisition of stacks and get it by 20 minutes, but we'll see. Hopefully you get this blue buff. Good. Now this gank's a little bit weird since you saw Talon down here, and you know that Callista's backing. I feel like this decision in general is like pretty counterintuitive. You see that Callista's super low, and that Talon's already there. I feel like this working out is a result of Cho'Gath's play, not necessarily a proper decision. That could have gone a lot worse. In a lot of ways, you disrespected the top laner's teleport. You didn't respect Tahm Kench having an ultimate that works as a teleport. And yeah, there's a lot of variables at play that you didn't respect there, just by walking into the bot lane. Because just to rewind and give you sort of a better image of what was going on, you walk down here, which first of all, they misplaced this ward. They should have vision of you way earlier if this ward was placed correctly. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna pull it up and if I can. The heck is going on? There we go. That was weird. Okay. So, looking at your situation right here, right? There's this ward, which is a little bit out of place. It could, technically, this ward should be like right here, and give them a vision of this whole area, right? Let them see all the way up, actually, against this wall. They would be able to see you coming from this far, and if that ward is there, which you should respect in this situation, you should assume that this is warded. This is a lot of river to be blind over. Oh, sorry, there's another one on the other side that's theirs. So, yeah. That one is your ward. The one on the other side, though, that we can't see is theirs. It's in the same spot, though. Anyway, so you're moving down towards the gank here, but you see all three members. You see that there is a Talon, the Talon pressure is really the important thing, because already we know that Callista is at 50 health, or whatever this low number is. And if Talon is already there, it's really likely that Callista is just like out of the fight completely. The fact that she comes back in is a testament to her trust in you guys, which is pretty unheard of. Usually they wouldn't even come back in; they just hit the B button and leave. So going down here, first of all, you're way ahead of Cho'Gath. So I don't know if it's necessarily a bad 3v3. I think you guys do win the 3v3, but Cho'Gath is so far behind you. This is so much space where they can just nuke you alone, and also you jump in. So those two things combined. Yeah, there's a lot that you need to, when you're here on the map, you need to be really aware that like your teammate is far away and your bot lane is low on health, and this in general is just not a scenario you want to be in. Although the one thing I can give you credit for is that your entire jungle is cleared. So there's not a lot of camps to be killing necessarily. Alternatively, like as far as an alternative play that could have been made that was slightly better, killing Scuttle Crab is a really big deal for, say, the Devourer. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Scuttle Crab gives 2 stacks of Say the Devourer. Yeah, just as you said there. It gives 2 stacks, which is really strong. So, killing that crab that's there is actually super important to getting your stacks up quickly, especially when the bot lane is so dangerous. Yeah, you did. Mechanical misplays are going to happen everywhere, though. It's not the end of the world. The only thing is that you knew that this was awarded, right? I mean, we know 100% for a fact that this bush is warded, just by the way that they behaved when you walked up to them. And then you sort of walk back into the bush, and you stand still in this bush that they very obviously have vision in, which, it can only hurt you, right? So I feel like that was the big mistake in this actual fight. The dying, not that big a deal. The little mechanical misplay is not that big a deal. Being aware that they literally can see you is a pretty big deal. Okay, so 13 minutes, 8 stacks. You know, I really think the 20-minute dream is achievable still, even though you're a little bit behind. Especially if you get dragon, you'll be able to get it even earlier. Right now, I'd be pinging the shit out of dragon. I think that your goal is dragon, but you've not made that clear to your teammates whatsoever. Um, it's very important that you're communicating with your team about where you're going to be as the jungler with regular pings. Pings are the number one mistake that junglers make, I think, and being super clear about your intentions as a jungler, as the X factor of the team, is often underrated. So, just a simple "I'm on the way" ping on the dragon can change how quickly and how efficiently a dragon fight happens. Also, I'm not sure if you're aware of the bug right now, but if you actually don't get the last hit on the dragon, then you don't get any stacks on your devourer, and that's 5 stacks that you miss out on. So make sure that you're getting last hits on dragons, or inform your team of that, so that they stop hitting it. What do you mean, is it the same with other camps? Do you mean, is it the same that... Well, yeah, you don't get any say to devour stacks if someone else kills it. Right there is a perfect example of you not flashing because you didn't know to trinket jump. Um, like, literally, you should have saved your flash there. A 5-minute cooldown could have been saved as a result of your trinket ward here. Like, instead of flashing, just, trinket jump over this wall, and same exact result. Except I think the only difference would be that Cho'Gath gets the kill on Talon. Also, making sure to ult while the Nidalee is bursting you is really important. Something that you didn't do there. I actually just noticed that you decided to go with the Chilling Smite buff. Now, I think that's okay, but since you're getting Bork second anyway, it's kind of irrelevant. I think that the Trailblazer or the Challenging Smite would have both been better. Trailblazer would keep you super healthy in the jungle and help your clear a lot, because Jax's clear, he's pretty fast at killing big camps, but the AoE camps he's pretty bad at. That helps with that a lot, and the Challenging Smite, for obvious reasons, it makes you much stronger. In the duels that he strives in. Does everything I'm saying make sense so far? If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to explain things further. Yeah, Bork second isn't necessarily a bad idea. I just think that Wit's End was slightly better because of the Nidalee burst, and it gives you, actually probably a little bit more damage than Bork. But, it just, Bork third is fine. Bork second's even fine, in most cases. Just this composition. This is super greedy. Okay. I'm gonna watch that one more time. So you and Cho'Gath are just chilling in the jungle. I don't really know why you're here, to be honest. There's plenty of camps available on the map that you could be doing. There's Scuttle Crab Bottom that you could be farming. You could actually have your sated devourer just by the camps that are on the map. Yeah, no, you can't. You'd be too short, but with respawns, you're really close to your sated. And instead, you're kind of just wandering through the jungle with Cho'Gath here, sort of aimlessly, actually. Can you hear me okay? I got a warning on Skype saying that our connection's weak. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so the way to remedy this type of mistake, this like decision making / positioning mistake, the easiest way or the most efficient way is to just ask yourself regularly throughout the game, what are my goals as a jungler? How do I best contribute to destroying their nexus ultimately? What is the primary way that I can fill my role, and what is my role? So like the role as Jax as a jungler is just to hyper carry crazy hard with, and here's the keyword, with sated devourer. Okay, prior to sated devourer, you're really weak. Like it's not really, you can't contribute nearly as much. So you want to be working towards that goal in the most efficient way. And at any point in time, you should be thinking, okay, what's next on my checklist of things I have to do? Get sated devourer is number 1 on that list. So that should be your primary goal. Actually, number 1 on that list is make sure my lanes aren't feeding. And then number 2 is get sated devourer, right? And in this case, like Cho'Gath is 6-2. You guys are really strong with the exception of your bot lane. And you have a lot of free time and free space to go farm your own jungle. Like Nidalee is not pressuring you at all. She's putting a ton of her pressure on the lanes, which I think is ultimately a mistake on her end even. So you have so much freedom that you should utilize that. But instead you kind of just jump in here. I think you underestimate Tahm Kench's tankiness. That champion is incredibly difficult to kill. No, it is. It's bugged on Dragon right now. I guess an assist on large monsters. But I specifically saw a case yesterday where a streamer did not get the stacks. Now, I don't know if that's repeated every single time. But I do know that I witnessed it yesterday. And I've heard from several people that is currently the case. I also heard that it's the same for Baron, although I haven't seen that one. So I'm not for sure about that. I see that you're mistiming your stuns a lot. That's something you need to be a little bit more conscious about, I think, is when you actually activate your stun. I think you've missed like 3 of 6 stuns, so. That's actually a perfect example. Yeah, that's fine. Mechanical mistakes aren't something to harp on. They're just something I want to point out when they repeat over and over again. Right there, actually, that death can be entirely attributed to the flash that you used earlier to escape from the Nidalee. If you hadn't flashed there and you had ward jumped that wall, you would be completely safe in a situation like this where you could just flash over the wall. Just examples of how holding your summoner spells can be, or by using your summoner spells can hurt you long term, rather than just the short-term benefit that you would gain by using it. Your Cho'Gath is actually massive. At this point, you just want to like farm forever because Cho'Gath is gonna carry the shit out of this game. Like, it, your goal, your vision of how this game goes into mid late game should be altered at this point because normally when you're looking at this team composition in the loading screen, you would think, oh, we're gonna have like a really good team fight. You know, I'm gonna be a primary damage source with Callista and work as a duo hyper carry and try to carry the game. While they work with like multiple assassins trying to stop us from getting to that point. That would be like the image that was in my head, at least while I'm in loading screen. Now, the difference here is that now Cho'Gath is a fucking monster, right? Like, he is so fed. That image has sort of shifted a little bit. Now it's become less of like they can assassinate him and more of you guys just need to ball up and win because the game should be over. Like, he has, if he finishes that Randuin's Omen or that Frozen Heart, whatever he's going for, I think it's Randuin's Omen. Yeah, Randuin's Omen. If he finishes that Randuin's Omen, he is then so tanky to Caitlyn and Talon that you can just team fight and your primary damage source doesn't have to be you or Callista. So even if they do assassinate you two during the team fights, Cho'Gath is able to carry those fights pretty handily. So just grouping up is a really safe option once you get sated. Look, like, he hardly had to flash there, and he got, you know, jumped on by both Nidalee and Talon. It's pretty incredible. He actually almost killed Talon. Okay, I really want to point out that it is 21 minutes and you do not have sated Devourer yet. That is extraordinarily extraordinarily away from your goal, right? Like, your target should be 15 minutes and your I'm a little bit behind target should be 20. So now it's 21 minutes and you're still 5 stacks from Sated Devourer. So that, to me, immediately reinforces the issue of like that you weren't farming in the early game and that you weren't putting nearly enough priority on clearing camps. If you were playing something like, you know, Vi or like some warrior enchant jungler, this type of movement and this positioning would be much better. It would be, you know, far less risky. A devourer jungler is a jungler that turns on in the mid game. They have nearly no early game. They just try to clear the jungle as much as possible. So I would recommend PvEing a little bit more and PvPing a lot less. If you need any sources on how to improve at this, there's actually a stream, a Master Yi main in Korea named Kalsup. He streams. I can link it to you if you need me to. He plays only Master Yi jungle in Korea, and he basically PvEs until 2 items every single game, and he runs Flash Teleport as Master Yi. So he is a great guide on how to properly PvE and get, like, he attains Master Elo every single season just playing Master Yi jungle and farming his own jungle. So I'm sure that he has new Devourer, Sated Devourer guides for Yi, but just in general, watching his stream can do a lot to show you the ideal play style for a Devourer jungler. You can actually queue to Thresh's Lantern. I'm not sure if you know that. That would have saved your life there, actually. At least at one point you could. I'm pretty sure they didn't change it because I know you can still Lee Sin W to it and you can Katarina E to it. I assume you can still Jackstrap to it. I might be a little bit wrong on that one. So, Sated is on the way. We're excited. I can't wait to see it. You're 3 more camps and you'll have the Sated all done. 24 minutes isn't the worst Sated Devourer timing I've ever seen. It's definitely not good, but it's at least you'll have it done and be able to have some impact on the game. Now, the decision to build Warden's Mail, what exactly inspired that? Because I feel like Warden's Mail as a whole is, I don't know, it's an iffy item in this situation, especially when you're Sated Devourer. Going pretty much glass cannons, fairly acceptable, and even if you were to go tank, I feel that Random's Omen is a weird decision. Or sorry, Warden's Mail. I think I got that wrong twice already. But yeah, Warden's Mail is an odd choice, considering Talon doesn't want to be hitting you that often, you know? Talon isn't the auto attacker, he's an attack damage burst champion. And Caitlyn's pretty much the only one that you're hurting with that, and you dodge all her attacks anyway. So I don't think I agree with building defensive on Jax, especially if you're going to say to Devourer. I think going for something like Wit's End, going for something like Hex or Gunblade, those types of decisions. Even Spirit Visage is pretty good now. So like anything that can increase your ability to duel other players. I do think that Warden's Mail is a good choice, you know, versus a different team composition. Yeah. Oh, it's totally fine. Say Devourer is fucking insane, dude. Yeah, you punch people twice and they die. It'd be great. If that's your general play style, then that's totally fine. Like I said, Warden's Mail this game is probably not the tank item that you want to start with. So, you know, maybe maybe a different tank item. Like I said, Spirit Visage, or, you know, even something like Banshee's Veil can help a lot in this game. I'm almost done. Okay, so you're getting poked a lot. That's okay. Their team just has like a massive amount of poke in general. This positioning is really scary. Wow. When you're in a scenario, like just watching your minimap in this type of spot is really important. Because like, watch your position on this minimap and how it changes right here. Because right now, your team, here, I'll actually just show you. So, your team right now on the minimap forms a line. You can always tell when you're out of position just by the minimap, by the way. So, your team right now forms this straight line. That's a really pretty straight line. That's really good. You guys cover a zone. That's effective. You guys can back each other up. And you know for sure, you have vision of everywhere on this map, except for, you know, right here, unless there's a word that I can't see. So, but that's okay, because all the important spots you have vision of. This is a solid line. What right now, though, is what you do is you literally move from right here, and then you penetrate this line and just go as deep as humanly possible in this fashion. So this is your movement. That's your arrow. That's you. Over the next few seconds here. Actually, you might go all the way around. I don't remember. But either way, you end up going like way further pushed than the remainder of your team, and you end up getting collapsed on, which is a direct result of you leaving the defensive line that your team has formed here, the line of safety. Line of scrimmage if you like sports. So you need to really be, whenever you're playing, try to keep an eye on your minimap, and if you see like, you know, yourself and you're just like, wow, I'm so far out of position, even when you're watching replays, when I used to like be watching a lot of replays and try to help out some challenger teams, the number one thing I would tell them is go watch a replay, turn it on 8x speed, the fastest speed you can turn it on, and just watch your bobblehead on the minimap and watch how you position and find how many times you're out of position. Because that is such a good indicator of how far how far out of position you actually are and how tunnel visioned you are. You'd be really surprised how often it actually happens. You die 6 more times in the next 5 minutes? I don't believe you. Well, even if it happened in another game, you know, it's likely the same issue, right? It's just like how out of position you are. The really important thing for jacks that I don't think that you actually did is make sure that your counter on your auto attacks is odd. So basically, the way that the sated works is that every other auto attack does the extra on hit, but when you do it every when your third auto attack's the one that procs, it's kind of awkward. I don't know. I haven't played the jack. I haven't seen enough of sated jacks to actually know if there's a way to get that counter to align on your first auto attack. But I'd be interested to find out if there was. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a way to align the procs. Either way, your second, like your sixth hit doubles, but. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to say about this game as of now. It looks like you guys are just going to push an end, but we'll see. Keep watching. Yeah, I wish I had the ability to fast forward. Oh wait, I do. So you gain dragon. This third dragon's kind of important. Ultimately, I think Baron would have been the better decision, but you'll probably get that anyway. Are you running attack speed glyphs? Or not glyphs, marks? Because I would really recommend running 20% attack speed on your rune page, if you aren't already. I forgot to ask you that at the beginning, what runes you were running. You didn't say AS Quints. Try running AS Reds, 1 AS Quint, and 2 AD Reds. Or, sorry, 2 AD Quints. I think it puts you at 19 or 21 AS. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit better math. A little known fact, attack speed reds are, I forget the exact statistic. They're like some crazy percentage more efficient than attack damage reds. As far as like gold efficiency goes, they save you a lot more gold comparatively. Yep. You'll also find that your first clear is a lot better. A lot better. An important note for the Sated Devourer. Yeah, I use that on 80. Well, no, I only use 16% attack speed on 80. I only think most people should use that. I don't think going much higher than that's worthwhile. You just need to be fast enough to CS creeps. Anyway, an important note on the Sated Devourer gameplay, as opposed to like previous upgrades to the jungle item gameplay, like Feral Flare, stuff like that, is this item doesn't scale infinitely, right? This item isn't an item that continues to stack as you clear the jungle, which means that once you acquire Sated Devourer, you can turn your focus away from the jungle and more so towards like team fighting and stuff like that, which is why you want to rush it so early, is because then you just kind of you don't need to be in the jungle unless it's efficient to be. Okay. Well, that's the end. So, do you have any questions or anything like that? I'm happy to answer anything. I got time. Well, that's subjective, I think. Farming the whole early mid game is ultimately your goal. I mean, if you can do that without your lanes dying and without getting invaded by the enemy jungler and without losing dragon, if you can do that without any repercussions, then yeah, you should just be farming. But you have to find like a happy balance between catering to your lanes that are going to need your help, and not turning too much pressure away from your own jungle. So it's a balance that you just get through experience. And also, like I said, that guy Calcip could give you some visual representation if you feel like you need to see the gameplay actually be done, because that is his MO. That's his entire play style, is pretty much what you're struggling to master here. So have you ever heard of that streamer? Okay, cool. It's just it's spelled like that. Yep. It's a really similar play style, I think, even though he's playing a different character. So I think that there's definitely something to learn there. Okay. If that's the case, I'm gonna turn off the recording for right now, and then I'll get it sent to you as soon as possible. Then the recording is gonna be over right now.